Hello and welcome to another episode of Raw Chatter. I am your host speaking, Vicky Midwood. Of course, I am the human health optimizer and the addiction eliminator. I have a guest with me today. This is the gentleman that I met actually online via a networking group, and we have had 2 or 3 now really in-depth, fun, interesting conversations. So I am delighted and excited to bring you this episode of the podcast where Dave is going to share his story about how he got into being a fan of resistance training bands from actually having a very successful printing business. So, Dave, would you like to tell people about your story? What got you into the bands? Give us the whole spiel on how it happened.
Sure. Thanks, Vicky. I'm delighted to be here, of course. So I'm going to have to go back quite a bit of time. Back to 1994, which is when I got started as a self-employed person and opened up my own printing company at the time. Behind that, of course, fitness was always in my life from the age of 12. When my mom put me into karate, which was to help me with confidence actually at the time, because I was quite a shy young lad, and she thought it would be good for me, and she was so right, because it taught me discipline, it taught me commitment, and it gave me lots of confidence. The problem with karate back in those days was that we didn't know a whole lot about how to mind our bodies really, and recovery and so on and so forth. And
so that's quite forward thinking of your mom to suggest that you do something physical with a group of people to be able to help your confidence, which is quite awesome, isn't it, for her to suggest that in the first place?
Yeah, it was fabulous. And also, when I think back to it now, I was a sufferer of bronchitis when I was young, actually. And one of the goals was that exercise would help me grow out of it. And you know what? It was so true, because actually when I started karate, within, I would say, 1 or 2 years of that, I never got bronchitis again.
Fantastic. And this is just that alone is a powerful message of how physical illnesses can be abated or arrested or even eliminated through the benefits of moving your body and helping to improve heart and lung fitness. Fantastic. So you started in that world of karate from being a youngster, and did you continue that right through your teen years and into your 20s then?
Yeah, for about 5 years, I would think. I fell in love with it. I absolutely loved it, and I was very, very committed to it. I suppose at the time, Bruce Lee was my idol. I worshipped him, of course, and I had posters in my bedroom and everything. But, there was little seeds being planted back then, because Bruce Lee was able to do some amazing stuff with his body's flexibility. He was able to bring his head down and touch his knees, literally fold himself in half. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I could do that one day? And
can you?
I can, of course. I can. I talk about it every so often with my clients, and of course I'm teaching my clients along the way to do this as well. They're all like little Bruce Lees. Yeah, so it's great.
Fantastic. So aside from doing the martial arts, I mean, did you get into sort of competitions? Was it serious, or was it more just a hobby?
No. I mean, I competed. We competed often back then. Fought with nunchakus and samurai swords and everything. Things were very different back in those days. So it was a fantastic experience for me. But it helped me fall in love with fitness. And I did identify at the time, even at that young age, because of my karate instructor, the importance of strength whilst doing martial arts. And it was something that Bruce Lee actually touched on quite a bit. Actually, he brought the whole notion of resistance training in with martial arts as well. So I started getting involved with gym work then, as well as when I maybe was 15, 16, I started engaging more on the weighted front at the time. And I combined the two together. And I suppose I was very, very consistent, Vicky, with my training, with my karate. I never really missed or anything. But of course, it is impacting on the body, and especially back then when we didn't know what we know now, and how to manage recovery and physiotherapy and stuff like that. And I had a lot of injuries. My shoulders were at me, my back was at me, and so on and so forth.
Right. So this is where it's interesting now, because the work that you do, you can actually help people to rectify some of those problems, because you understand the mechanics, but also you've been there, haven't you? and know what it feels like to have these issues niggling away in the background. So you open your printing business, and you worked with some quite incredible companies, didn't you? Some quite big, well-known named brands. Do you want to just name drop a few of the brands that people?
I mean, when I think back to it, like we were this small printing company in Cork here in Ireland, but we were dealing with the big boys, the big multinationals, the Apples, BMWs, Lexus, Toyota, all the big car brands and everything. And it came to just building really good, solid client relationships, and knowing how to network properly as well, of course, really helps.
And is this where your confidence that you were building back when Mum suggested that you go to karate? Do you think that was something that actually helped you to be able to build such successful and strong connections?
100%, yeah. Because I was really genuinely very shy as a kid, even throughout my school years. And I didn't ever think I could do what I do now, even when that whole sales world in the print and design business. But I became the opposite to what I was actually back then, because I think fitness really gave me great confidence in myself as a person. And that came through then when it came to networking and meeting people. And networking, to be fair as well, helped that hugely. It made me better at what I was doing. It gave me more confidence again. And I suppose I just grew into it. Just became my own version of what I do now.
So you were combining working in your printing company and but also you were doing the gym sort of in your spare time as well. Were you actually training clients in the gym as well?
No, not at the time when I started. We're going back to 94. And I suppose, like, at the time, I got married, got a mortgage, set up the business. So there's a lot going on. And this is important, of course, because I became that busy professional.
Right.
And then I neglected my fitness.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the gym, and I just focus on work. And we all get caught in that trap, don't we?
So
But 3 or 4 years rolled on, and I was like, what has happened here? So there was a realization that this is not who I am, who I should be. And it's time to do something about it. So
just for people listening, just help them to recognize perhaps some of those symptoms and feelings for themselves, because you'd been fit, so you knew what it felt like. So when you kind of felt the way that you felt, what was going on that made that realization happen?
Like, this work got in the way. I was working too many hours. I wasn't eating properly. I wasn't exercising, and I thought I'd be fine at the time. Because when I was younger, my challenge was I couldn't put weight on at all, of course. I was self-conscious as a kid, and I didn't want to be big, but I didn't want to be skinny either. I guess that was my mindset at the time. And, then suddenly I'm 30, I'm married, I'm in business, and I start putting on weight.
Right.
And this was like something I wasn't accustomed to at all. And I was tired, didn't have the energy I used to have. Definitely didn't feel as flexible as I used to be, and so I started recognizing those signs, and I didn't like how it felt at all, of course.
And the reason I kind of wanted you to kind of say that is because a lot of people now are feeling exactly that, and they're thinking that it's normal, and it's not, is it? And you can actually change it perhaps more quickly and definitely more easily than you think. And so you felt that, and what did you decide to do about it?
Well, I got back into fitness. No, I didn't get into resistance band training right then. I just got back into fitness because you're so right. We get so accustomed to how we feel, don't we? Yeah. And it almost feels it's not happening to you at all. And it's probably only till you meet someone you haven't seen in a while that they might recognize the difference in you that you don't even see yourself. It's like having back issues and shoulder problems. I have to tell you, I got accustomed to having them, and I got used to feeling the way I felt, which is not a nice place to be, of course, but it's just how it is for most people. And it's only until you go and fix the problems, you start to realize, wow, this is how I should be feeling. So I just started getting back into exercise, became consistent with it, just made time out of my week to do the training. But it was still challenging, of course, because I am running a business. It is very busy, and I'm now going to gyms, right? So I'm not online because the online world didn't exist back then. Well, it didn't.
Certainly didn't. Yeah.
So I had to make my way to gyms, doing the usual join for the year, doing the membership. And yeah, I mean, I consistent? Not as much as I should have been. I missed many sessions. I missed many weeks. I missed many months along the way. And we're going forward a good bit in time. The business is building, success has come my way. I'm in and out of fitness still, but I'm still not consistent.
Right.
And I'm tired of the energy that I'm using to just get there. Then I'm waking up the next morning and I'm feeling sore from the gym, and I'm feeling those wiggles. And like, I'm getting older now as well, right? So like, I'm no longer in my 20s or 30s, so I'm coming into the 40s now.
Right.
And I'm kind of thinking I need to make a change.
Right. And I think so many people can relate to that, especially if they've gone down the road of, as so many people do, right, next year, I'm going to start going to the gym, or I've had a gym membership and I've not used it, and I've booked my summer holiday and I'm going to start. And they can experience those same feelings where they've gone to the gym and then they're sore, and then they realize that it's not quite as much fun as they thought. And so the motivation to go again kind of wanes. So if something crops up, suddenly that's now priority and the gym falls back down again, because it doesn't feel good to go through that process, especially if you're not sure what you're doing. And if you're trying to figure it out for yourself, chances are you're not necessarily doing the right stuff for you at the right pace or in the right way. So you were doing the whole gym thing sort of ish.
Yeah, but I was doing it on my own. I mean, obviously in karate, I had an instructor, I had people around me. But then when I was in the gym, it was solo on my own. And, I mean, when I look back and reflect on it now, I mean, I'm kind of an attention to detail person anyway. I always was in my print and design business, but I'm pretty sure I wasn't doing everything correct. Because I didn't have anyone teaching me or minding me, right? And this was part of the problem. And that person that you're feeling accountable to, that will drive you on, that will motivate you, and someone that you can be relatable to as well, I guess. I didn't have that at all. Right. And that was probably the missing ingredient for me at the time.
Makes sense. It's so important, because if you think about it, even in business, whether we're talking about having a business coach or whether we're talking about having a financial coach, if you can go to somebody who knows that little bit more than you, even if it's just to ask for some advice or to just do a couple of sessions with you or to just show you something, you have that sense of, okay, I kind of sort of know what I'm doing. But when you've got, especially in the gym scenario, unless you are working one-to-one with a trainer, it's very difficult to keep going, because it's so easy if you just go, I don't want to bang out another 2 reps. That was enough. That'll do, isn't it?
It's everybody's problem, really,
Yeah.
I mean, firstly, it's easy not to show up if you have no one to show up to. And then if you do show up and you have someone there, then you're going to get much more out of that session than what you do on your own. No matter how committed you are, and I would consider myself quite a committed person, right? But still, it's not the same. You're going to go that extra mile for sure. And you know this as well, Vicky, you've been doing this a long time.
Absolutely. And I think, even now, I'm a member of a gym for the first time. I joined a gym in 2023, having been somebody who, I only taught classes, to be fair. I didn't really go to the gym because I had my own stuff, but I always found that, I enjoyed working with somebody, because there's that air of competition, but there's that air of accountability, and the energy's different when you've got somebody else in that same space in the room. But the nice thing is that if you can then translate that, which is what happened for you, isn't it, through lockdown, and it's what happened for me, those people that already know you, who you've been with in person, you can take that same energy online, and it feels almost the same, because they already know you and you've got that rapport. And then the nice thing is that if new people start to come in, they can already feel that energy is already there, so they become a part of it. Yeah. So tell me, what got you to then, because you made a kind of a big shift, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go back 16 years. So I guess I'm about 42 then, right? Showing my age now, right?
We're not that dissimilar in age.
And I thought, right, okay, I need something different. And actually, it was actually through networking. I was out networking, and I was in my other world of print and design, networking, and I met a trainer.
Right.
And the trainer was someone who worked with resistance bands. And I thought, well, that sounds different.
Mm.
So let's check it out and see what it's all about. And I knew instantly on my first session that this was for me. It was
Brilliant.
so different. It felt so different. I couldn't believe the workout I could get in 30 minutes with these bands. And the best part was I got up the next day and I felt great.
Amazing. Amazing. So that was you pretty much hooked, isn't it? And this is where I'm such a believer that you just kind of know instantly if it's the right thing for you. Equally, I think you know if it's not the right thing for you. And it's trusting that gut instinct, isn't it? And it was kind of reinforced by the fact that, hey, here's the proof. I'm waking up the next day and I don't feel that horrible achy muscle sensation that I felt from going to the gym, but I had a good workout. So that was you hooked. And then because you don't do things by halves, what did you do?
Well, I mean, I suppose I embraced the fitness anyway with these bands, and I actually worked with that trainer for quite some time. And I believe it or not, even back then, I still wasn't planning on teaching it, of course, right? This was for me. And what I did notice over the period of months and months was I started feeling stronger. You know, there was these moments where I just felt something different, and it wasn't necessarily happening in the gym. It could have been something I was doing away from the gym. It could have been some work I was doing around the house or whatever. I just felt more able, and I did notice my flexibility was improving again. So for me, this was all exciting. So I made a subconscious decision that I'm going to just learn as much as possible about these resistance bands. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll be teaching them myself.
Right.
And what actually happened was it was actually clients of mine who encouraged me to teach. They said, you know what, Dave, I think you'd be actually pretty good at this. Have you ever considered being a trainer? You love fitness. You've been in fitness your whole life. You're doing something really different. I've never seen anyone do this before. Well, how do you feel about doing that? And I said, I'm not sure, but it's
the seed was planted.
Absolutely. So, because I've been in business so long, and at that time I was in business quite a while. I'd be a doer. If I'm saying I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Because so many people talk about doing stuff, they know they should do it, but they never actually do it. Whereas I'm a doer. If I set out to do something, I will do it, and once I do it, I will stick with it. So I decided I would go in and qualify, and even just do it. See how it felt. I'm running a business at the same time, quite the challenge, but I did it, and I was very proud of myself for doing it because I didn't have the option of going to college when I came out of school. It was very different back then. So for me, I was proud that I was doing something away from that, and I threw myself into it, and I qualified with a distinction, and I was really happy with that. And I can still remember my first training session because you don't know, am I going to be really good at this? I hope I am, but I knew instinctively, Vicky, from the moment I started on that first day, this is for me. I love it. And the feeling I got, and engaging with the client and seeing how they felt afterwards, and the confidence they were building along the way with it. And for me, I've always been about relationship building in my other business, so there was a natural, translation of that into the fitness world. And I kind of feel like I had a unique perspective because, firstly, the trainers in general that would be out there when I was in my own, when I was learning myself and doing the course, they were all in their 20s,
right?
And I was clearly the oldest in the class, right?
Yeah.
Right, which I didn't mind at all. I was quite happy with that. But I've been in business a long time. I was that busy professional who was challenged for time, who had been fit at some stage and let it all go. And so I had a very different perspective with fitness then, because of that. And I guess because I'm all about relationship building in the printing world, it just came natural to me. I was the same in the fitness world. So
it makes sense, doesn't it? How we do one thing really is how we do everything. And if that is the kind of the personality that you are, and that connections make you feel good, but they also make the other person feel good. So it's a win-win for both parties. But this is how, I mean, if you hadn't have been into connections and networking, potentially you would never have met that guy and been introduced to the bands. And this is where recognizing that everything kind of falls into place. And the very fact that you were decided consciously to go back into fitness because you recognized you weren't feeling great and you didn't like how it felt. But also something really important that you said there is that you're a doer. A lot of people are talkers and they're information gatherers. Yes. And research. I'm just going to do a bit more research and I'm just going to find out a bit more. And it's like sometimes you just have to take the bull by the horns and do it. But I think the other thing that's really important to pick up on is the fact that you had been in fitness, so you weren't averse to knowing what training felt like physically. You'd already experienced the powerful mental side of it, giving you more confidence. But also you'd put in the years of working with this guy. So you already knew this piece of equipment probably better than the people who were training you on the training course, because you got that something that you can't buy on a course, isn't it? Years of experience and actually using the stuff. So it's not surprising to hear you say that when you had your first client, kind of knew it felt good. And I'm sure that your clients feel that from you as well. So tell us now what kind of shifted, because are you still working in your printing business? Are you still that busy business owner, or has things changed?
Yeah, well, they've changed a bit. I mean, just to go back, you made that interesting point there about, going on that course. And I felt I had done my apprenticeship with my own trainer for, I think, about 7 years, actually, is how long I worked with him.
Amazing.
But, obviously I needed to do it for the obvious reasons, but I wanted to endorse what I knew as well. But when I was on that course, you've been there, it's a one course fits all and you're box ticking and stuff, and a lot of the stuff wasn't even relevant. I mean, if I had a wish, I would go in and change the whole system as to how they you don't learn the skills you really need to learn properly on that course at all. Yeah. And there's too much focus on anatomy and physiology and not enough on people, and how to connect and how to, tap into their minds and get them to do stuff. And I suppose I felt I had that edge because of life and experience and having lived those decades. And one thing I think is really important, Vicky, when it comes to training, and I know you agree with this, is having empathy with your clients.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Knowing what it's like to feel you've lived the same decades as they have, the challenges that are there. A lot of my clients tend to be business owners, and believe it or not, they're generally above the age of 40. This has happened naturally for me because, they're the people that draw. I'm an advocate for older people because I think fitness should be for everybody. And I think it's unfair that, people, they're almost taught like that. Well, it's a bit late for you now. Well, it's never too late, I mean, you can start at any stage. And I mean, even when I look back on my own life and when I let fitness go, yes, I was very fit, but I did let myself go, and I let life get in the way and business get in the way, but I got myself back. And then I really got myself back when I got someone on board to help me, know. Exactly. And that's the big difference, you see, knowing you've someone there that has your back and
Brilliant.
support.
And I think that's such an important message, because age is not a barrier to anything. But we kind of learn, if we're from a certain era, and we're from the same era, we kind of learn that socially conditioned message that, once you hit your 50s, you're a bit past it. We're now in an era where we know that that's just rubbish. I'm working with clients in their 70s and 80s, and you are doing the same. And the beauty is, and I get excited by it, when you get an older person who's not really done that much before, but suddenly they have a reason to want to. Maybe they've had a diagnosis of osteopenia, or they have actually had a fall and they're scared of, breaking something else, or they just kind of think, what, I just fancy giving it a go. They make the best gains because they've not done it. And just that momentum of seeing them and them feeling how awesome this is, and it doesn't take long, that excitement is brilliant. But also what you said earlier about you having the years of experience and understanding how to talk to people. And that's something that you can't really teach on a course. It does come with age and it does come with experience. but understanding the psychology behind getting somebody to actually do the thing that you know they need to do in a way that they actually want to do it, that's a skill, isn't it? So, and that's what you excel at. So tell people now more about what you actually now do.
Okay, so I identified obviously that, busy professionals, men and women above the age of 40 were where I was interested in. Of course, I was not online. Still, we have to bring ourselves into COVID era now, the famous COVID, which was 2020, because up to then I would have been in person. And one of my wishes was to reach as many people as possible with these resistance bands, because I just felt like they were magic, like it was so powerful. They were like having a gym in your hand. But I can only do so much from here in Ireland, in County Cork. The thoughts of being worldwide, it just wasn't in my mindset. And then COVID happened, and it was an opportunity, wasn't it? I mean, there was a lot of bad with COVID. People lost loved ones, and I lost my mum during COVID. But I turned everything into a positive. And I thought, well, we're here now, we're in it. Yep. What can we do differently? And it's about adapting, isn't it? And I adapted, and I said, well, I'm going online. I don't know if I'll be good at this. I don't even know what it's going to be like, and I didn't even know what Zoom was. Zoom was like a car or something, that made noise. But I said, I'm going to give it a go. And I took my clients that I had at the time online with me.
Yeah.
And we all came together like a class. I said to them at the time, look, I don't know how long this will last for, maybe a few weeks or something. I didn't realize at the time it'd be like 4 months, I think, was the first lockdown. Yeah. But how important was that for us all to be together at the time? And, it really made me realize then, Vicky, that no, I can do this really successfully. So I joined the network again. Only this time I joined as Dave Hurley Fitness Resistance Band Man. And that was the difference, because up to then it was always the printing guy, right?
Print. Yeah.
And I mean, God did it accelerate. The notion that people could work out from home, from their office while they traveled. They couldn't do a lot of that during the COVID time, of course, but they can now. But they were working out from home at the time with these bands, which were so portable and so versatile and so practical and so low impacting. And, I learned very quickly how to adapt with camera positionings and all that type of stuff. Yeah. And, you kind of make yourself almost present in the room with them, don't you?
Absolutely. And the joy of the bands is as well, it's not like you need to get, like, people think, oh, I don't want to have all of this equipment in my house. Well, you don't. You just need 2 or 3 little bands, and a lot of them just come in their own carry case that you can go put in a drawer. They don't have to even be, anywhere to be seen, do they? Whereas, people are thinking, oh, I need a step and I need a barbell. And no, you really, really don't. So now, do you still just do online? Are you doing classes? Are you doing one-to-one? How is it working for you now?
So initially would have started as one-to-one, which I love, because it's relationship building and it's live, right? I didn't actually realize so many people didn't even do live, that they were all recorded.
Quite a few people did record.
It's fine. I mean, look, it can be an add-on service as well. Might suit some people. But for me, anyway, my model was live. You have me for that 30 minutes, because all my sessions are 30 minutes. And I'll get you to do stuff you'll never do on your own. And I teach you to use those bands in a way you could never imagine. The bands I use are even different to the normal bands too. I bespoke custom make my bands as well. And I, for certain exercises, so they're like 9.5 foot long. And then you have the bands with the handles that you can attach to doors. So there's lots of versatility there. And sometimes that loose, long band can be the most practical one to take with you if you're traveling, because you can put it in your carrier case or anything. Yeah. But you can do so much with this, Vicky. You can fold it over.
This is the thing. And the nice thing about the bands is, and for people who don't know what we're talking about, there are so many different bands. I utilize the little loopy bands in Pilates, which, some of them are very thick. And very kind of non-stretchy, and some of them are very, very stretchy. So there's a plethora of bands, isn't there, that you utilize? As you say, some have got handles, some have not got handles, varying different lengths. And this is why it's like it's like a toys playground. You just kind of go and you just go, what can I do with this? And the joy of it is, as you said, what you can do with it is almost endless, because you can always utilize your body and the band together for so many different movements that it's never boring, is it?
No.
There's always something that you can kind of, oh yeah. And so if people wanted to kind of find out what you actually do you have a timetable, do you have a website, or do people need to contact you directly one-to-one?
Well, I mean, there's two ways of contacting me. Obviously, on my website, davehurleyfitness.com. But I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. And the reason why I'm saying this, Vicky, is that because most of my clients are business owners, managers, and so on and so forth, they all exist on LinkedIn anyway. I think LinkedIn is it's a great platform. It's very professional, and you don't see too many of us up in LinkedIn either, which is great. I prefer that. So yeah, I mean, I post 5 days a week. I'm always educating. When I'm online, I'm not underselling, I'm educating, and people reach out to me privately, then they send me direct messages, and then I do a consultation with them, which I'm always happy to do, and I let them get to know me a little bit. I explain more about what I do, and then if they're interested, they can book me in then. So whether it's one-to-one, whether it's group class, I do work in the workplace as well. The wellness in the workplace here in Ireland it's really growing. I've done some live events there where I've actually turned up in person for those events, but I can still do it online as well. And who knows, maybe a hybrid, me on screen, you in person, who knows, and vice versa over here in Ireland. Anything's possible really with these plans.
Yeah. Well, it is, isn't it? And the nice thing is that in your videos, because you're not just posting like words, you actually do post videos, don't you? So people can see you utilizing the bands and what kind of bands you are using. So if people are not sure, we put all of the links of where you can find Dave in the show notes. And if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be in the description. There will all be clickable links. So are you still doing some of your print and design, Dave, or is that now history? And are you just Dave Hurley, the band man?
Well, I primarily am Dave Hurley, resistance band man, right? But because I've spent 30 years in design and I've a lot of experience, I've built a really great team of people around me that are specialized in those areas. So I primarily focus on web design and branding with my team. And it's naturally referred to me from my clients because, again, my clients who are business owners will know about me when they get to know me over time on one-to-one. And they say, well, so Dave, I've got this new company and I'd love you to design the brand and build a website. So that happens naturally now for me, which is wonderful. But it's not my primary focus. It's really in the background. My main focus is fitness. That's what I'm all about. And if I have to give up one totally, it's design. 100% fitness is what's going to be in my life forever. And that's what I want to drive on with. So, yeah.
So people will be itching, I've no doubt, to know, are you still into your martial arts? Do you still do the karate, or is your fitness now just based around the bands?
My fitness is based all around the bands, but my flexibility is really remarkable now. So I've demonstrated this on video because what I'm trying to tell people is, everybody has different levels of flexibility. And some people will never say arrive at the same level of flexibility as I am at, but I've had the martial arts background behind me as well. We're all designed differently, but you will certainly be much more flexible than you are right now if you pick up a resistance band and you consistently use it over time. And that flexibility will really, really stand to you because you're going to feel so much better in yourself. You'll have more mobility. And I've got clients now, of course, quite a few women actually. I'm sorry, guys, but women are better with this one. And to see someone arrive at the point where they finally can touch their head off their knees, for me, it's fantastic. I had a client very recently and she arrived at her knees. She was so happy that she did it. It took her quite a bit of time to get there, but persistence, consistency, and she got there. And for me, that just gives me great pleasure. It really does.
Amazing. And you said some really important things there I just want to highlight, because I mentioned the kind of phrase, how we do one thing, how we do everything, because it translates across. And so if you are building strength and flexibility in your physical body, then you're going to be building strength and flexibility in your thinking and in your ability to run your business, because it can't not translate across all areas. And this is why when it comes to things like resilience and just having a go, if you can do it in your fitness, then the chances are that's going to move over into your business, your relationships, and your friendships. And I think we lose the connection. We think that fitness is this and everything else is that, but they're not, are they? They're intertwined.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, Vicky, because it's really bringing me back now in time with my experience, and they go hand in hand. Fitness has got me through really challenging times, really stressful times. It was my best friend. You perform so much better. I talk to my clients about all the time. They're remarkable at their jobs. They really are, but like their fitness is not where it should be at all. And with the help of someone like me or someone else, they can get it there. And they always say the same thing: God, I've got so much more energy. I'm sharper. I'm thinking differently. I feel more confident. It could be if someone is out selling, you go out selling nice and fit and energetic, you're going to perform way better than what you do if you're not. So they do come together, and you will get all of those benefits along the way. But you have to be, I suppose, there's no quick fix. I train myself and my clients in a very sustainable way, a way that you can keep going and you can keep adapting as you get older. And we got chairs that we can sit on. I spoke about this before. If you've got injuries or anything and you feel, oh, I can't work out, well, guess what? You can. There's a chair. It's banging under that chair and off you go. It works a treat. So there's just about adapting, and this is back to life experience.
Flexibility. Being flexible, being adaptable. And this is where it's so important to kind of recognize that the similarities between fitness and life, they go hand in hand. It's a journey side by side. And often, as you say, I know for me and for a lot of people, without having fitness to turn to get you through stressful things, I'm not sure that I would have gotten through some of the things that I've been able to do, because it kept me sane. It gave me something to fully focus on and to just remind me that I am strong and that I can make decisions. And when you've got somebody by your side as well, just helping you, championing you, understanding, helping you to know when to stop and take a breather, when to say enough's enough, but also knowing when to push you, just enough to help you to get over that mental hurdle of I can't. And it's like, yet. Add that yet on the end. And as you've said so well, it's about it being sustainable. And it's not about you taking 2 hours out of your day to fight traffic and go to a gym and maybe have to wait for equipment and all of that stuff. It's about you're in your living room and you can jump online with Dave, and off we go for 30 minutes. Brilliant.
Isn't that the best though, Vicky? I mean, this 30-minute thing at home, it takes all the excuse out of it, doesn't it, for sure?
Absolutely. And out of the window, that whole idea that, I've got to exercise for an hour for it to count. No, you don't. It's what you do, not how long you're doing it for, isn't it?
I joke about it. My clients is 30 minutes with Dave Hurley. 30 minutes is enough. It's
absolutely. In the nicest possible way. Brilliant. So, Dave, as is tradition on my podcast, I always like to ask my guests if there's just one thing that the listeners could walk away from this podcast with, what would it be?
Good question. Well, for me, I love resistance bands. They've changed my life. And if everybody listening right now could just go out and get your hands on a resistance band, whether you have one in your home right now or whether you have to go and get one, you can get them everywhere. Pick one up and start today.
Brilliant.
That's it.
Brilliant. That's a great message to end on. Absolutely awesome. Dave, you have been an amazing guest. Thank you so much. As I say, folks, all of Dave's links will be in the show notes, so you don't have to go searching for anything. And I am going to leave you with this, as I always do. We only have one life, as far as we know, and one body. So look after it, because it is looking after you. Until next time, take care of yourselves.
Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you.